I want to tell you something I haven't told anyone. Not my son, not my sister, not the doctor who asks how I'm sleeping and seems satisfied when I say fine. My name is Harold. I'm 74 years old. And about 3 months ago, on a Tuesday morning, I picked up my wife's pillow from her side of the bed, held it to my face, and there was nothing there. Just fabric, just cotton. She'd been gone 2 years and 4 months by then, and for most of that time, that pillow was the last place she still existed in any physical way I could reach. I don't know how to explain what it felt like when it was gone, when the last trace of her just wasn't there anymore. I put the pillow back down very carefully, like it was still something precious, like being gentle with it now could somehow matter, and then I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. Her name was Miriam. We were married 41 years. I met her when I was 26. She was 23. We were at a friend's dinner party that neither of us wanted to attend. I remember she was sitting at the far end of the table, and she laughed at something someone said, and the laugh was so sudden and so real that I looked up from my plate. That was it, really. That was the whole beginning. We got married 14 months later in her parents' backyard. It rained. She wasn't upset about it. She thought it was funny. I remember standing under a borrowed umbrella, watching her just laugh at the rain. I should tell you more about her, but I'm not sure I know how to yet. What I know is that she was the kind of person who made a house feel inhabited. Not noisy, not overwhelming, just present. You always knew she was there, not because she demanded attention, but because the rooms felt different when she was in them. After she died, I understood that for the first time. The rooms feel different now. We had a good life. I want to say that clearly. I don't want this to sound like a sad marriage or a broken one. It wasn't. It was a real one, which means it had long stretches of ordinary and quiet and routine, and some hard years in the middle, and a lot of mornings that passed without either of us saying very much. I worked in insurance for 30 years. I was good at it. It wasn't a passion, it was a living, and I told myself that was enough. I came home at the same time most evenings. We ate dinner together almost every night. We watched television. We went to bed. On weekends, we did errands. Occasionally, we'd go somewhere. A drive, a dinner out, a visit to her sister in Delaware. It was a life, a real, ordinary, decent life. But I was distracted for most of it. Not by anything dramatic, not by another woman or a secret or a crisis, just the ordinary noise inside my own head. Work problems, financial worries, the low-grade anxiety that never quite went away no matter how well things were going. I was there, every evening, every weekend, every ordinary Tuesday, but I wasn't always paying attention. And Miriam, she noticed. I know she did. She never said it directly. That wasn't her way. But sometimes she'd be talking to me, and she'd stop mid-sentence and just look at me, waiting, and I'd realized I'd missed whatever she'd just said. "Never mind," she'd say, and she'd go back to whatever she was doing. I heard those two words more times than I can count. Never mind. I didn't understand then what they cost her, every time. I thought she was fine. I thought we were fine. We were fine, but fine isn't the same as close, and I didn't know the difference until there was no one left to be close. There are specific moments I go back to now, moments I didn't know I was storing at the time. One is from maybe 15 years ago. We were in the kitchen on a Sunday morning. She was making tea, standing at the counter with her back to me. The light was coming through the window the way it does in October, low and golden.
She was wearing an old blue cardigan she'd had for years. She wasn't doing anything remarkable, just standing there, waiting for the kettle. And for some reason, I looked up from the newspaper and just watched her for a moment. She didn't know I was looking. I remember thinking quietly, in a way I didn't say out loud, I love this woman. And then the kettle boiled, and she turned around and handed me my tea, and I went back to the newspaper. I never told her what I'd thought in that moment. It was just a moment, a small one, but I've thought about it hundreds of times since she died. That small, private thought I kept to myself for no reason at all. It wouldn't have cost me anything to say it. She would have smiled, maybe said something small back, maybe just squeezed my hand, and then we'd have gone on with the morning. But it would have landed somewhere in her. I know that now. Those small things land somewhere. They accumulate, or they don't, and their absence accumulates instead. I kept so many of those moments to myself. I don't know why exactly. I wasn't cold. I wasn't withholding on purpose. I just assumed she knew. I assumed that 40 years of showing up was its own language, that she could read everything I didn't say. Maybe she could, but I think she also needed to hear it sometimes, and I didn't say it enough. The last year before she got sick was, looking back, one of our best. The children were grown and gone. The house was quieter. We'd retired within a year of each other, and for the first time in decades, we had time that belonged to no one but us. We started taking walks in the evenings. Nothing long, just around the neighborhood, after dinner, before dark. She'd hold my arm. We'd walk slowly. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we didn't. Those walks are what I think about most now. Not the vacations, not the holidays, not the big moments I thought were the ones that mattered. Just the walks. The way her hand felt on my arm, the way she'd point out things, a garden someone had planted, a cat on a porch, a sky doing something unusual at dusk. She was always noticing things. I was always thinking about something else. But in those last walks, I started to slow down. I started to look at what she was pointing at. I'd see it the way she saw it, briefly, and then it would pass. I think I was finally, in those years, becoming the husband I should have been much earlier. And then she got sick. It moved quickly, too quickly, 8 months from diagnosis to the end. And those walks stopped without either of us deciding they would. One evening I suggested we go. She said she was too tired. We said, next time. There wasn't a next time. I didn't know that was the last walk until months later when I realized we hadn't taken another one. I kept the pillow because I couldn't not keep it. In the days after she died, people came to the house. There was food, there were arrangements, there was my son looking at me the way you look at someone standing too close to an edge. And through all of it, I kept thinking about going upstairs, about the bedroom, about her side of the bed still holding the shape of her in some invisible way. Eventually, everyone left. My son offered to stay. I told him I was fine. I wasn't fine, but I needed to be alone in a way I couldn't explain to him. That first night I lay down on my side, and I didn't touch her pillow. I just looked at it in the dark. The second night I reached over and pulled it toward me, and she was there, in the fabric, in the warmth, in something I can't name. I held it for a long time. After that, I just kept it. Didn't wash it, didn't move it. I'd reach for it some mornings when I woke up in that half-awake moment before I remembered again. For 2 years and 4 months it was something, and then it wasn't. And I sat on the edge of the bed on a Tuesday morning in February, and I understood very quietly that the last physical trace of her was gone. Not her photographs, not her things still in the closet, not her handwriting inside the cover of books, but her, the actual her that existed in the world as a body, a warmth, a scent, gone. And there was nothing to do about it, nowhere to put that feeling, no one to call at 7 in the morning to say the pillow doesn't smell like her anymore. So I just sat there, and after a while I got up and made coffee, because that's what you do. I think about what I'd do differently, not the big things. I don't have big regrets about the shape of our life. I'd choose her again. I'd choose the same house, the same town, the same ordinary life. But I'd say more. I'd say it on the Sunday morning in October when she was standing at the counter waiting for the kettle. I'd put down the newspaper and say, "I love you, right now, just like this." I'd stop interrupting her when she was telling me something. I'd put the phone down